Bonjour, it's me, Madame Johnson, and today I'm going to explain to you how to tell what time it is in French. So the first thing you'll need to know how to do is ask what time it is. And the question for that is right up top. It is quelle heure est-il? And that literally means what time is it? So one more time, let's pronounce it slowly. Quelle heure est-il? Quelle heure est-il? And this word here, heure, means the hour. And so it's asking, what hour is it? This word is one that's frequently mispronounced. It's pronounced heure, kind of like the word her, only without the H sound. Quelle heure est-il? Some people pronounce it ewer or hoer, or they pronounce it in other different ways, but those are incorrect. It's pronounced heure. Quelle heure est-il? And then to reply to that question, you would say something like il est 5h10 or il est 3h20. What you would do is say it is, il est, and the number of hours, and then the number of minutes. So il est like 5h20. It is 5 hours and 20 minutes. It is 5:20. There is an S here in parentheses at the end of heure, and that S belongs for every clock time besides 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock is just one single hour, so we don't put an S at the end. You only put the S at the end for numbers 2 through 12 if we're talking about the standard clock, and then 2 through 24 if we're talking about military time. When we're talking about the numbers 15, 30, and 45 on the clock, there are special ways to say that. Of course, you can say it is 5:15, il est 5h15, 5:30, il est 5h30, and then 5:45, il est 5h45. Those all work fine, but there are also other terms that you can use that are a little different and that people in France tend to use. For the first one, you can say it is 5 hours and a quarter. Il est 5h15. And that means exactly the same thing as il est 5h15 or it is 5:15. It just means it is 5 hours and a quarter. When we're talking about 30 minutes after the hour, instead of saying il est 5h30, you can also say il est 5h30. And et demi means and a half. Il est 5h30. And those both mean the same thing. Then, if we are talking about 45 minutes after the hour, it gets a little different. Of course, you can say il est 5h45, it is 5 hours 45, but you can also say il est 6h moins le quart. When the French people talk about 45 minutes after the hour, they tend to say minus a quarter. And if you are going to subtract a quarter hour on the clock, you have to move up an hour to do that. So if it is 6 o'clock minus a quarter, that means it is 5:45. So whenever you are talking about 45 minutes after the hour, you have to move up an hour and then subtract a quarter. So for example, if you were saying it is 8:45, you would say il est 9h, 9 o'clock, moins le quart, minus a quarter. If this is kind of tricky to you, you can always say il est whatever hour it is, 45, it is like 5 o'clock, 45, and that's fine too. But this moins le quart is another way of saying that. So the only thing to remember though is if you're going to use it, you need to count up 1 hour. To say it is noon and midnight, you would say il est midi. And that kind of, to me, sounds like it is midday, midi. And that means it is noon, as marked by this little sun here. And then il est minuit means it is midnight. And for me, this also means it is mid, nuit. And nuit in French means night. So il est minuit means it is halfway through the night. And you know that by this little moon here with the stars. So repeat after me. Il est midi and il est minuit. Sometimes we're not sure exactly what time of day it is because of the clock time that we're using. For example, if we're saying it's 7 o'clock, sometimes we don't know if we're talking about 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night. So in order to be specific about that, you can use the terms du matin, de l'après-midi, and du soir. So du matin means in the morning, as indicated by this beautiful sunset over the ocean or some body of water. So répétez du matin. Il est 7 heures du matin. And this says it is 7 o'clock in the morning, but you could also say il est 6 heures du matin, it is 6 o'clock in the morning, il est 8 heures du matin, it is 8 o'clock in the morning, and that is fine too. Then we have in the afternoon, and that term is de l'après-midi. Répétez, de l'après-midi. De l'après-midi. And that just means in the afternoon. Then we can talk about in the evening. And if we're talking about the evening, we would say du soir. So you would say, for example, il est 8 heures du soir, it is 8 o'clock in the evening. Now, I didn't put any numbers for the minutes after each of these, but you can say the minutes. For example, if you wanted to say it is 7:15 in the morning, you can say il est 7h15 du matin, or il est 7h15 du matin. So you're just adding everything that we've just talked about together to tell what time it is. And that's all we have for the clock time. Oops, I'm playing it. Didn't mean to do that. That's all we have for the clock time and how to tell the time. I hope this helped you understand how to say it and what to do. Au revoir. Bonne journée.